West End have you at your wits' end? You're at Leicester Square. It's loud, crowded, full of tourists. You're tired, hangry, and need a break from the crowds. Fortunately, one of London's greatest surviving Victorian pubs, in a neighbourhood of listed historic Georgian and Victorian buildings, and the largest Portuguese community outside of Portugal with incredible food, is only 10 minutes away. Take the Northern Line southbound to Stockwell through tunnels opened in 1890 by the City and South London Railway, the world's first deep-level electric underground railway. Step out of the station and back into Victorian London, having just used a tube line the Victorians built. Walk south from Stockwell Station through quiet residential streets to the corner of Daliel and Combermere roads, the sort of military and aristocratic names that Victorian developers loved giving to brand new suburbs in the 1860s to 1890s. Look up. On the corner of a Victorian terrace straight out of Love Actually stands a Victorian jewel box of a pub, wrapped in stunning ceramic tiles. Gold, deep green, and chestnut brown, with flowers blooming across the exterior and leaves curling out of painted vases. When sunlight, or in the Victorian era gaslight, hits the building, it glows, just as its designers intended. This extraordinary pub frontage from the 1880s is one of the best surviving Victorian pub exteriors in London. Remarkable when along Daliel Road you can see newer bricked terraced housing jimmied into the streetscape, evidence of buildings lost to World War II bombs. The pub is the Marquis of Lorne at 49 Daliel Road, Stockwell, SW9 9SA. I'm Expat Andy, and this is Love Letter to London Pubs Shorts. Stockwell comes from the Old English Stockwell. Stoke, a tree trunk or stump, and weller, a spring or well. Stockwell, first recorded in 1197. Its name reflected its wooded landscape and natural springs, and the settlement developed around a medieval village green, remaining largely rural for centuries. In 1285, King Edward I acquired the manor of South Lambeth, dividing it into two manors, Stockwell and Vauxhall. Around 1629, John Tradescant the Elder, botanist to King Charles I, established his celebrated botanical garden at South Lambeth, commemorated today at the Garden Museum 2 miles north, where Tradescant's tomb is located next door to Lambeth Palace. By the late 18th century, the manor had fragmented through inheritance and sales, and was finally split into 14 lots and sold by auction in 1802. The 1802 sale divided the ancient manor of Stockwell into separate landholdings. Over the following century, portions of those former manor lands were gradually transformed into a series of suburban developments. Improved transport connections helped drive this expansion. The opening of Vauxhall Bridge in 1816 provided a faster route between South London and the West End, encouraging suburban growth. Around Stockwell Green, the historic village centre continued to grow around landmarks such as the Swan Inn, while much of the former manor land to the southwest remained fields and market gardens. During the 1820s and 1830s, land associated with Stockwell Park Estate was assembled for development, and in the late 1830s and 1840s, new roads including Stockwell Park Road, Stockwell Park Crescent, Albert Square, and Durand Gardens were laid out across former market gardens. As the century progressed, development spread further southwest across former manor lands, eventually reaching the area around the future Marquis of Lorne pub. In 1862, The metropolitan extension of the London, Chatham and Dover Railway reached the neighbouring districts of Brixton and Clapham. Stations such as Brixton and South Stockwell and Clapham and North Stockwell brought rail travel within easy reach of Stockwell and helped accelerate suburban growth. Balliol Road is working-class Victorian from the ground up. Streets still being laid out when the pub opened. Tradescant Road, built in 1880 over John Tradescant's former botanical garden, dates from the same year as the pub itself. Even Stockwell Underground Station came later. A further boost came in 1890 when the City and South London Railway, the world's first deep-level electric underground railway, opened Stockwell Station, bringing a new generation of commuters to the area and accelerating the development of former fields into suburban streets. So why does a working pub on a back street in a half-built neighborhood look the way it does? The Beer House Act of the 1830s led to an explosion in numbers of pubs, which in turn led to stricter licensing laws in 1869. Unable to easily obtain new licenses, breweries began buying up pubs outright, creating the tied house system. A brewery-owned pub is a capital asset. You invest in capital assets. Tiles were expensive, but durable and easy to clean. Important in a city choking on coal smoke and increasingly aware of hygiene and germ theory. The same glazed ceramics appeared in hospitals, dairies, and butcher shops. By the 1880s, manufacturers like Dalton and Minton competed aggressively for brewery contracts. In new neighborhoods, tiled pub exteriors signaled permanence, cleanliness, and prosperity. A brewery advertisement designed to stop you on the street. Step inside, and everything changes. Inside, customers were sorted by class and charged accordingly. To modern customers, the interior can feel plain and institutional, closer to a railway waiting room than the ornate exterior suggests. That was intentional. Victorian pubs and Victorian railways were solving the same problem, moving large numbers of people through public spaces while keeping social classes separate. Railway carriages had distinctly styled first, second, and third-class compartments with no internal connection. Pubs followed the same logic. The public bar for working men was deliberately basic, while the saloon bar offered greater comfort. Each bar had its own entrance and charged different prices for the same beer. The original Marquis of Lorne was divided into 4 separate rooms, plus a jug and bottle area. A full-height screen still separates what was once the public bar, and the ceiling beams reveal where the original walls once stood. The pub's name comes from a major Victorian royal scandal. In 1871, Princess Louise, Queen Victoria's 4th daughter, married John Campbell, the Marquis of Lorne. It was the first time in centuries that a British princess had married a commoner instead of foreign royalty. Queen Victoria hated the idea. The aristocracy was scandalized. The public lapped it up. Across Britain, newly opened pubs and streets were named after the Marquis of Lorne in celebration of the marriage, a small act of national gossip immortalized in pub signage. Lorne would later become Governor-General of Canada and help establish what would become the National Gallery of Canada. He was a published poet and painted watercolors. He would become the 9th Duke of Argyll on his father's death in 1900. Princess Louise was widely considered the most artistically gifted of Victoria's 9 children, a sculptor and painter whose statue of her mother still stands outside Kensington Palace. Did you notice a name in the tile above the entrance door? T. Castle. Theodore T. Castle ran this pub around 1900. Another overlooked London landmark sits nearby, Stockwell Bus Garage on Binfield Road. Built in the early 1950s and now Grade 2 star listed, it was designed for London transport by Adey, Button and Partners. Its 9 reinforced concrete barrel vaults created Europe's largest unsupported roof span when it opened in 1952. Built to replace facilities destroyed in World War II, it still operates as a work-in bus garage today. The Marquis of Lorne, built around 1880 at 49 Dalyell Road, is Grade 2 listed for its remarkable tiled exterior. CAMRA gives it 2-star status for special national historic interest. Inside, a tiny publican's office survives besides the servery, a reminder of the bookkeeping and licensing work behind a Victorian pub. Recent visitors report a cash-only policy and no real ale. But people do not come here for craft beer. They come because one of London's most extraordinary Victorian pub exteriors still survives quietly on a South London street corner. Nearby attractions include 40 Stansfield Road, birthplace of David Bowie, who attended nearby Stockwell Primary School. Van Gogh House at 87 Hackford Road is the Grade 2 listed terrace where Vincent van Gogh lived in 1873 to 1874 while working for Goupil and Company. About 2 miles north sits the Garden Museum, dedicated to the history of gardens and location of the tomb of botanist John Tradescant. Nearby is Lambeth Palace, the London residence of the Archbishop of Canterbury since the 13th century.
Lisboa, em ti o coração ancorar.
A must-visit in Stockwell is Little Portugal, home to the largest Portuguese-speaking community outside of Portugal. Families arrived from Madeira and Lisbon in the 1960s and 1970s, drawn by work in post-war London. South Lambeth is famous for its Portuguese and Brazilian cafes, bakeries, and restaurants. One of the best places in London for pastéis, de nata, and authentic Portuguese food. If you live, work, or travel in London, or if you own, manage, or work in a London pub, if you work as a London tour guide or at a London attraction, and you'd like to be a guest contributor to our main podcast, Publicity, your London Travel Toolkit, email me expatandy@publicitythepodcast.com. Love our content? Love London and its pubs? The best thing you can do is share the love. Literally, share this episode with your network. Your share is the butterfly ripple effect across the globe for a small business in London.